welcome back to my channel. And it is no more a news that the Nigerian Sharia Council, of internal affairs has released a warning to Donald Trump that Nigeria, first and foremost, is a Muslim majority state. At this stage, Nigeria has not been declared officially an Islamic republic. But Donald Trump, mind your business. That this narrative that you are peddling, you labeled it Christian genocide. I mean, you have it right there above my head. Is nothing but a lie from the pit of hell. I mean, this is a clear warning. So Donald Trump might possibly, just lay his hands off. Because when the Christians who are reportedly being cold-bloodedly killed, fail to hit the street, are silent, cannot protest that indeed there is something as such. We have seen the protests in Kano led by Al-Zazaki, where they were burning the flags of America. We have seen so many protests also in Kaduna. They have said that what we have is not Christian genocide, that it is just poor of leadership, that it is poverty, that there is absolutely nothing called encroachment of other people's territories, that it is climate change. It's like an epistle. While I understand that this document was signed by Professor Ishaq Oloyede, but one thing is clear, there is nothing that will come out from that institute, from the Nigerian Sharia Council, without the nod and approval of the Sultan. Because the Sultan is the President General for life of the NSCIA. And also, he is what? The leaders of the Muslim faithful in Nigeria for life. This is what we have, and a clear warning has been said to all those people in the south, in the middle belt, who has been, clamoring, shouting, saying Donald Trump to come. Well, we must understand that those who have the larger population, after all, is this not democracy? And I want to believe that Donald Trump is a Democrat. So, in a democratic nation where the Muslims are the majority, the last time we saw the Aso Rock uploading some pictures, they wrote it there that the Muslims are what? 52% or 50, is it 52 or 55% in percentage, larger than every other religion. Closely followed is Christians, who are 41%. So about 10% more. Was that the case about 50 years ago? Apparently not. Okay, but a lot of things have happened. Many Christians have died. Some of them have run out. A lot of things have happened. Okay, but that is not what we're discussing today. Because why we have been discussing that Donald Trump's come and help us, some people are ready to divert our attention. Some people will tell you that Nigeria does not need an external force. Some people will tell you that Nigeria is indivisible by external force. Some people will tell you that Nigeria is a sovereign state. In fact, the Senate Deputy President, Barao Jibrin, was having a confrontation with Akpabio. They told Akpabio, because Akpabio said, don't mention Trump. Don't mention Trump. Who am I? But the Deputy Senate President said, keep quiet there. We are a sovereign nation. I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. There's nothing Donald Trump can do. There's no Christian genocide. Yes, there are killings. Even the Muslims are being killed. I do not care. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. We are in the minority. Yes, the Christians are in the minorities. So the majority will have their way. It's as simple as that. Who are you to challenge those that are of the major population? Nothing. This is why you see an Akpabio, he will not be able to speak up. This is why you see that the Christians in the southeast, in the southwest, in the middle belt, cannot openly stage a protest for the international help because they know they are in the minority. However, on the other side, we can see how the majority have staged protests. In fact, even went ahead to burn the United States of American flag because Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a Muslim majority state. It's a clear, just a clear declaration that Nigeria is not a secular state. So you are always parroting that Nigeria is a secular state. Nigeria is not a secular state. In any way, Nigeria is not a secular state. If Nigeria was a secular state, you would understand that Nigeria would not have Sharia in our constitution. That's one. Secondly, Nigeria is not a secular state because you will understand that before the British could give us independence, they needed to get the consent from the Northern Protectorate. Of course, that needed to be done until the approval was given to the lordships of the person who was in charge of the Nigerians at then, Lord Lugard and Co. They said, okay, no problem. You guys will have your way because you are more. We know that historically, according to the census, the Northerners have always been more. And in the Southwest, the proportion of Muslim to Christian is 50-50. So if the North are 80% Northern Muslims, the Southwest 50-50, the Southeast in population are not even up to the Southwest. So you can imagine that Nigeria is not a secular state. And this is why they will tell you Nigeria is indivisible. Nigeria cannot divide. I agree. Yes. Because we apparently do not have the courage. We do not have the numbers. Is it in the Senate? Is it in the House of Rep? The numbers are not there. You see the numbers of states. Take a look at the map. You have more northern states than the southern states combined. For now, the middle belt, of course, are still under the lock and keys of the Fulani hegemony. Yes. Maybe until when they are able to break away, but for now, they are still under that. They are lock and key. So there's no argument on that fact. So why we might be delusional sometimes that we will break away, we will do this. Can we be pragmatic and take a look at the books? What is going to happen? How do you want to do it? There's no way. There is definitely no way. If Tinubu cannot take his chance as a Yoruba man who is in power today, haven't demystified the Fulani'S, haven't demystified the northern oligarchs, if he fails to do the last thing, taking the last step, which is to reform, to restructure, of course, for me, I will always say that above all things, now state police I want. I know why I keep saying that. When you have your state police, and your state local police, who will mostly 99.9% will be the indigene of that land. So the indigene of that land, whether you are a Muslim or a Christian, would not even matter. The encroachment of some people from West Africa, from Futajalon, from maybe Adamawa or Yobe or Borno, that they are grazing their cattle. Because for me, the root of insecurity in Nigeria started when we said people can move things anyhow, most especially their cattle. For God's sake, you cannot just move your cattle anyhow. Yes, because it is true that means you have access to the forest, the road networks, then you are able to perpetrate evil, then you You run back into the deep hearts of the forest. Yes, because you hide under the guise that you are grazing cows. So most people will not probably suspect if you have any sinister agenda. So you see why they would go to ECOWAS, from ECOWAS, they will go to every meeting that wants to stop, or that want to put in place maybe inter-countries border control measures or internal states control measures. You find these people there saying that no, 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 don't let us have these things. Let us allow the Nigerian people to move around. After all, we are all one. They start preaching to the choir. They start telling you Nigerians are one. Nigerians should not be restricted from movement. There should be freedom of movement. There should be this, there should be that. When you tell them that, but people are not allowed to, why should you just be moving my cattle? They'll tell you, we used to have grazing routes. We will talk it out. These are the things. And for how long shall this continue? Because for me, what we have now from the Sharia Council is instructive. It is a clear warning that Nigeria will not accommodate, welcome any help from, will not welcome any help from the Trump regarding maybe they want to come and wipe anybody out on Christian genocide. They will not accept it. Or maybe anything that has to do with dividing the country is not also welcomed. So these are the issues we have on the table. And how do you think our politicians in the South can attend to this? Do you think they have the courage? Do you think aside Bola Ahmed Tinubu, obviously, who he has the yam, he has the knife, he can decide to cut the country into pieces if he so wishes. But even if he tries it, he still needs the support of the southern people. He needs the support of the middle belt people. Is that possible? Is it visible? These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves as a nation. Because when you are saying, I am being quiet, and some people are telling you, okay, keep quiet there. There's nothing as such. It is climate change. It is poverty. Now poverty you go see Fulani head that they carry wielding AK-47 of over 2.5 million naira. Now poverty. Is it poverty? Is it poverty that is making the likes of Shegumi and Ezaki to be calling these bandits they are our sons? Is it all these people that I'm calling Shegumi and Ezaki, they are all under the Nigerian Sharia Council led by Sultan. So you understand how powerful the Sultan is. And if the Sultan needs to be sincere, he needs to call those people out. Shegumi cannot go around and be telling us that we should be negotiating with bandits. Why? Why do you have a soft touch? Or why do you have a soft spot for them? Why should we negotiate with people that have killed thousands of Nigerians? Is it a situation whereby you do not care about the life of human beings? Yes, the Sultan must be sincere. If he must begin to tell us that he stands against any form of genocide, then he must begin to call out the likes of Ezaki, who are saying Nigeria, we must not allow Trump to come and harm these bandits because some of them are husbands to our daughters. What sense can I extract from such words? I'm just confused.
US President Donald J. Trump, who threatened military action against Nigeria under the false pretext of a so-called genocide against Christians. This statement is not only ignorant, it is dangerous. It distorts Nigerians' complex security realities and fuels sectarian divisions that millions of peace-loving citizens are struggling to overcome. We are compelled to respond to the reckless, arrogant, and deeply provocative remarks by US President Donald J. Trump, who threatened military action against Nigeria under the false pretext of a so-called genocide against Christians. This statement is not only ignorant, it is dangerous. It distorts Nigerians' complex security realities and police sectarian divisions that millions of peace-loving citizens are struggling to overcome. The context of Trump's tweets. Trump's outburst followed a manipulated petition engineered by Amnesty International using the voice of its Nigerian country director Isa Sanusi, cynically deployed to give credibility to a toxic Western narrative. This petition, dressed up as human rights advocacy, is part of a broader campaign to vilify Nigeria and justify foreign interference under humanitarian pretense. Let us be clear, there is no genocide against Christians in Nigeria. There is a national security crisis affecting all Nigerians, Muslims, Christians, and others alike. The flawed Christian genocide narrative. The CNG rejects the false and divisive narrative that violence in Nigeria is religiously one-sided. The data tells a very different story. According to verified figures from the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ACLED, between January 2020 and September 2025, over 20,400 civilians have been killed in violent attacks across Nigeria. Of the reported incidents where religion could be verified, 317 Christian deaths and 417 Muslim deaths were recorded. The figures debunked the Western media's exaggerated portrayal of Christians as exclusive victims. The majority of victims in northern Nigeria, from Zamfara to Borno, Katsina to Sokoto, are Muslims, attacked in mosques, markets, roadside, and IDP camps. Recent data underscores this reality even further. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ACLED, an estimated 9,662 people were killed in violent incidents across Nigeria in 2024 alone, with a staggering 86% of those days occurring in the northern region, 41% in the northwest, 25.9% in the northeast, and 19.3% in the north central. These figures expose the gross imbalance in Western media narratives that focus almost exclusively on Christian victims while ignoring the scale of devastation endured by predominantly Muslim northern communities. As security analyst Bulama Bukarati warned in October 2025, changing service chiefs without reforms won't solve Nigerians' insecurity challenge. The crisis has evolved beyond personal swaps. His statement reflects a growing consensus that Nigeria's tragedy is one of leadership failure and institutional weakness, not a religious war. He earlier observed that Boko Haram and ISWAP kill Muslims and Christians alike, but their largest victims are Muslims by far. This hypocrisy must end. Nigerians' pain must not be filtered through a Western religious lens. The brutal reality on the ground. To underscore the tragic reality deliberately ignored by foreign propagandists, on January 11, 2025, bandits killed 21 people in Aure, Katsina State. On 19 August 2025, gunmen stormed a mosque in Malampashi during dawn prayers and slaughtered over 50 worshippers. In Zamfara State, between March and October 2025, dozens were killed in repeated attacks across Anka, Maru, and Sape local government areas. Yet, none of these atrocities made international headlines because the victims were Muslims, not Christians. These are not isolated incidents. They represent the daily horror faced by ordinary Muslims in rural communities whose days rarely make international headlines. No discussion of selective outrage is complete without recalling the Zaria massacre of December 12 to 14, 2015, when over 340 members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, IMN, mostly Shiite Muslims, including women and children, were killed. Even after Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch documented the atrocity with satellite imagery and mass grave evidence, no U.S. administration, including Trump's, ever condemned the killings because the victims were Muslims. This silence further exposes the double standard of Western government and their selective morality in Nigerian affairs. The IPOB factor, a false victimhood. While foreign actors romanticize the indigenous people of Biafra as victims, they conveniently ignore IPOB's atrocities, the murder of northern traders, burning of vehicles, and violent enforcement of sit-at-home orders that have crippled livelihoods in the southeast. Over 600 northerners have been killed in IPOB-related attacks since 2021, according to independent security monitors. Yet, Trump and his enablers choose silence because it does not fit their prepackaged narrative. Foreign manipulation and hidden motives. The claim of a Christian genocide is not a misunderstanding, it is a strategic deception. It serves geopolitical interests aimed at destabilizing Nigeria and justifying future interventions. For decades, the United States and its allies have used human rights as camouflage for resource control and political dominance from Iraq to Libya. They create a moral crisis, weaponize global outrage, and then move in under the guise of liberation. Nigeria will not be the next experiment. Trump's sudden concern for persecuted Christians is a smokescreen. His record shows indifference to African lives. What truly offends him is Nigerians' growing diplomatic independence, our increasing ties with China, Russia, and the global south, and our resistance to neo-colonial pressure. Our key observations: predominantly Muslim